Welcome to Early Access. I'm Katie Whitlock. I'm here with my friend Sara Sumption, who lives in Utah. Sara, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you.
Sara and I met actually at an Around the Circle event in June, whatever that was.
Yeah, June.
Jeff and TJ put on a book release, and I went up to help them kind of teach Enneagram stuff, and Sara was there.
Yeah.
And then we started following each other on all the social medias. And when I put out a call for Enneagram guests, she was very excited. So thank you for being here. Can you tell the people a little bit about how you got into the Enneagram, what number you are, and anything you feel like is relevant for people to know about you, right? Little bio.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into the Enneagram in college. I majored in psychology and communications. And so personality tests were kind of just a thing that we discussed often. And we came across the Enneagram one day, and I was like, oh, I like this one because it doesn't change. It doesn't, like, your motivations stay
Mm-hmm.
the same. Like, there was something I liked the other ones. Myers-Briggs was great. The color one's great, all those. But the fact that they could change, I didn't love that,
Yeah.
which makes sense when you learn that I'm a 5. Um,
Right.
and
Why not? What about being a 5 didn't made you not like that it changes? What's bad about something
I
changing?
I like things to be what they are.
Mm,
Like, things can be ever changing as long as that's what they're, like, designed to be.
interesting. Okay.
Um, but, like, I feel like people's personalities are kinda, like, locked in,
Right.
and especially with that being what I was studying, where I was really studying, like, the human mind,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, "Oh, I want, like, a basis. I
Mm-hmm.
want something a jumping off point for this." And so learning about the Enneagram and then learning I thought for a not very long, but for a minute that I was a 2, and what I've realized, actually even more recently, is that because I was raised by a 2,
Mm,
and I was raised in a very Christian household, I was raised to be a 2.
right.
And I think that became really important of, like, all the values of being a woman and being a 2
Right.
are what's most
Yeah.
important. And so I still have that, which I think is an interesting,
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of paradox with my 5-ness, but
Right.
then I still have the 2-ness that is very deeply ingrained.
So
Yeah.
what eventually made you realize you were a 5?
Learning about the arrows and going to stress and
Mm,
security, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah, like, this makes" going to 7 and 8, I was like, "Oh, okay, this makes sense," and also just I figured out very quickly that my mom was a 2.
Mm-hmm.
I, like, had her take it, and I realized I was very much not like my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and as much as I think I wanted to be a 2. Yeah,
Well, and it's the
there's
pride, right? Like part of 2. It
yeah.
feels noble to like give yourself over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Oh, I want to be a 2. I want
Mm-hmm.
to be the person that's always giving," and then I realized, well, I think big things the arrows were a huge thing, but then also the repressed
Yeah.
center. All of a sudden, I was like,
Oh.
"Oh, okay." Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
100%, and then the set amount of energy with
Right.
5s, I was like, "Oh, yep, okay."
So
Yeah.
about the arrows, let's talk about the arrows. In case anyone's listening, like
Mhm.
wondering if they're a 5, right? What is it about 5 going to 7 in stress and going to 8 in security? Like reading those descriptions, what were the parts that made you be like, oh yeah, that's me for sure?
So especially going to 7
Mm-hmm.
in stress, I all of a sudden became it was like the only time I was really in touch with my body, and I all of a sudden was just doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I all of a sudden start avoiding and doing things and kind of it almost is this mania
Mm.
where I'm like, "Okay, I'm going everywhere, I'm doing all these things," and my brother has very hyperactive
Mm-hmm.
ADHD, and so I was like, "Is this how he feels all the time?"
This is
I felt
horrible.
like I all of a sudden yeah, I was like, "I feel like I only have ADHD
When I'm
when I'm
stressed
stressed," and I
out.
was like,
That's
"Oh,
funny.
I" yeah. So it's like, "Oh, I think that's my
Yeah.
7." And then going to 8 insecurity, it didn't make as much sense to me. 8s are such an enigma to me still, but I felt vastly more protective
Mm,
when I was in my security number. I felt more like willing to, and I'm the oldest of five. I'm very much the big sister, but I felt vastly more protective and more like when I was secure and where I was at, I knew that I could move mountains for the people that I love.
yeah.
And so, oh,
I
okay.
wonder if do you think eight gives you, because you don't need any more logic, right? You don't need any more like
Yeah.
planning. Like that's not the part that eight gives you. What I wonder if what eight is giving you is the ability to like now actually do it, right? And to like
Yeah.
stand on your own 2 feet and say, no, this is what I'm gonna do, and just try to get in my way, right? Like
Yeah.
not even the stubbornness, because you know. I don't know. Well, do you think fives are stubborn? Actually, is
Somewhat
my
of the
question. Do you
stubbornness.
think fives are stubborn? I actually don't know.
There's some, here's the thing. If you try to tell me that something isn't the way it is, but I've done the research
Right.
and I know
Right.
for sure, then I'm going to be stubborn. But one thing I have learned, people think that fives are very
Mm-mm.
binary and they're like, it has to be black and white. I think it's actually the opposite. I think we're very gray because we know that nothing is ever an absolute
Mm.
because new information can always be obtained. So I don't think we're very stubborn in that
Right.
aspect. Like if you can present us with enough research on something, we're not going to be stubborn about sticking to the old
That's what
ways.
I like hesitated to say fives are stubborn, because stubborn to me means you don't get to tell me anything about what I think. Like I just think it and that's how I
Yeah.
am. But that's absolutely not true
Yeah.
with fives. Like fives, if
Yeah.
you have other information, let me know, right? If it's going to change my
Oh
mind, let
yeah.
me know.
Yeah, and especially if I'm walking around with the wrong
Yeah.
information, heaven
Right.
forbid, like, please let
So
me
do you
know.
think, because eights are a little stubborn, kind of, they're just kind of like point and shoot, right? Or shoot and then
Yeah.
point. Do you think it
Yep,
do you think
exactly.
it does, when you feel secure, do you feel more able to make a decision without needing to think through every single aspect of it first? Do you relate to that at all?
I think it allows me to trust my instincts
Ooh.
more. I can come in more to intuition and
Mhm.
instincts rather than I have to have knowledge accrued. Instead, it I become much more
Yeah.
trusting of my
Yeah.
own
Right.
knowledge that I've obtained, but also, like I said, intuition and instincts.
Have you ever thought about six? That sounded a little six to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
a
does
little
sound a
six.
little 6. I have
Mhm.
thought about 6, and what I have realized is that once we'll come back to the
Right,
repress
right, right.
center once again is huge for me. And then also, I think, like, as we get into the wings, which I don't go as much into the wings, I think I
Lean a
do
little
lean
heavily
heavily
six.
on
Yeah,
my
that's
6
fair.
wing. 'Cause, yeah, I was diagnosed with
Mhm.
anxiety very, very young and, like, stuff like that, so I think I definitely lean
Right.
heavily
But
onto
you're
my
saying
6.
the doing center, so fives are the doing repressed. You see that show up in your life a
Mhm.
lot.
Oh,
Talk about, where do you see
100%.
it, do you think,
And
the most?
I was actually talking to my friend about this last night because he is
Okay.
an 8 and he is a very, very strong 8. And he was talking about how me not being forthright with talking about emotions is feels like I'm
Mhm.
lying, which I was
That's
like,
not what that
that
is.
makes no
Yeah.
sense. But then he yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, that's
Right.
what are you talking about? But then he also was just like, I will just like, I'm confident in my decisions. I will go and do. And I was telling him, I was like, I would rather sit in a library and research the thing we're about to do than do
Then
the
go do the
actual
thing.
thing. It's
Yeah.
almost like, yeah, a couple years ago, I went to
Mhm.
Scotland and Ireland by myself for a
Awesome.
month. And, like, going by myself, everybody was like, "Why do you wanna go by yourself?"
Because then I
Because
don't have to deal with
that
any
sounds
of
way more
y'all.
fun to me. Yep, exactly, and I was like, "I'm on this remote island and I can just
Yeah.
do whatever I want." The the planning of that trip took 10 times longer than the execution. I was very much in my head, and then when it came to do it, I remember going to the airport, my dad dropped me off, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, this thing. I have to get on a plane and do it." Planning
Fun.
was so
Yeah.
fun.
Why is it so fun? What does it
Yeah,
feel
you see the
like?
like, anything is possible. And also, like, especially building an
Yeah.
itinerary, I was like, "This is so
I love
pretty.
doing that
Look
stuff.
at this," where
Yep.
it's like yeah,
Yep.
where I was like, "Oh, the planning of this is so nice," or it's like, I'm researching these castles and I'm researching what's the best time of year to go, what's the best tour company for
Mhm.
this, like, that sort of thing, and then I, like by the end of it, I was like, "Oh, I don't even" like, I've
Mhm.
experienced it from here. Just me
Mhm.
and Pinterest have
Right.
experienced this enough.
I've
I don't
actually
need
done
to
it already
physically
because
be
I've spent
there.
enough time
Yeah,
researching it. It I feel like I've done it.
yeah, and it very much it almost felt like a book where it was like I and when I read books, I'm
Mhm.
fully immersed in the world of it, and that's how it felt where I was like, "This is just my own little
Right.
book that I'm writing, and I'll never have to actually
Right.
put boots on the
Right.
ground." I I won't have to climb through these moors and waterfalls and be dragging my suitcase down the
Mhm.
streets of Edinburgh, like, I won't have to do any of that. I will just have the research.
When you got to the airport and you were like, "Oh my gosh, I actually have to do this thing." What's the fear there?
Mhm.
Like that sounds like fear. Maybe it's not. You can correct that.
Yeah.
What's the fear? Like what are you scared of? You've already done so much research. You know what to do, all these things. So what is it about the doing that makes you freak out?
I know what to do, but everything that I have planned has been in
Mm.
my control. And so all of a sudden you're stepping into this and it's like, what if there are situations that
Yeah.
I didn't account for? And that's the last thing I ever want is to feel like I don't have enough information or
Mhm.
I'm incompetent. And so I all of a sudden I was like, what if I get there and this happens to be closed? What if this like it could be 1,000 different scenarios and it was depending on other people. And the 5 aspect of like going in
Yeah.
expecting rejection, I think was huge there
Interesting.
as well. Where I was like, I'm expecting this as as long as it stays as just an idea in my head, it
Mm.
can't crash and burn. But if I go out there and it goes horribly wrong, I have to tell people it went horribly wrong and, like, all of my planning and all of my
Right.
research was wrong, and I
And
failed at
that means
this.
that that goes back to the core of I am incompetent, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I've always wanted to ask. So my dad's a five, and he knows about Enneagram
Mm,
because like I know about the Enneagram, my mom, but he doesn't know enough that I can ask him like really,
yeah,
really tough questions about being a five, right? So one thing I've always
yeah.
wanted to ask him. One of the things that's hard for me to like logically I understand it, but I don't really feel it, right? Is my core fear is
Mhm.
directly connected to shame. So it's like, what does this say about me? Like, if I
Mm,
am not admirable or valuable or people or like prove that I'm the best in the room, then of course everyone's going to hate me because of course everyone hated me all along and like I people have just been
yeah,
waiting to find out I'm not as cool as I think I am and like all these things. It always goes back to what does that say about me, right? So it's hard for me to conceptualize when
mhm.
people's core things aren't connected to who they are as a person. It's more connected to like something that could happen to you or the body triad
Yeah,
is more like autonomy, right? Like being taken over or something like that. Like that's hard for me to conceptualize what that feels like because to me I feel like it should
yeah.
connect back to oh and then I'm stupid in front of everybody and the in front of everybody is the hard part instead of the being stupid is the hard part, right?
Mm.
So what is it what's the very bottom of I am incompetent? Like, is that proving something about yourself that you've always thought, or is it just this like very deep fear in you? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think I am always worried. It could be other people, but it also can just be myself. I'm worried that if what I have researched and what I have found out turns out to be wrong, turns out to be disproven, anything, it's it then proves to myself that I
Mm,
was a fraud all along. Like, I'm going to find out I was a fraud, everybody's going to find out I was a fraud, and to me, other people's perceptions don't
yeah.
matter as much, but at the end of the day, like, it's me and my
Mm.
brain. That's where I live, and, like, if I can't trust my brain, if I can't trust things that come from my brain, like,
Oh, okay.
what do I have to
That's
trust?
the
I have
thing that I've never heard
nothing.
from a five. Because I was going to ask, well, what's wrong with being a fraud,
Mm,
right? Like, what's behind that? What's wrong with being a fraud?
yeah,
But is it this fear of like, if I can't trust my own brain, that's, I mean,
yeah,
that is scary. That is the thing where I actually I get that.
yeah,
That is scary. Like nothing I've heard from fives have
yeah,
been scary enough to be like, really, your whole personality is built on top of that. But that would be scary.
yeah. If I can't trust anything, it it almost makes
Yeah.
you feel crazy. It's like if you go into that deep enough and it's like, okay, if I can't trust anything that's coming out of this brain, then my whole
Mm-hmm.
world is rocked. We're done. Like
Right.
there's no coming back from that because it's the
Of
basis of
how you interact with the
life.
world, who you are, what you think about
Yeah.
yourself. Is it,
Yeah.
and does that feel like a real possibility? Like when I think about
Yes.
shame, it really does feel like, oh, everybody's going
Mhm.
to know what I've known all along, right? And that it's not true. Like people
Yeah.
do like me. People are not waiting to find out that I'm a fraud or like uncool or all these things, but it feels like that's a very real possibility that could happen. And when I hear you talk like, oh, how can I trust my own brain? Like that would be scary, but that doesn't really strike me as something that would actually happen in real life. Does that feel very possible to you? Really?
It feels very possible. It feels like at any point, if someone came along and looked too closely at me,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I keep things close to the chest, it's like if someone came along and looked too closely, what if they disprove everything I've ever thought about myself and the world, things I've taught people, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
I'm just shattered and I'm left there like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay. I have nothing left to give."
That also sounds a little
Mhm.
like autonomy-ish to me, right? Like wanting to be. Is there a little bit of
Yeah.
that as well in it?
There is there's some autonomy there, at least for me. I don't like to have needs and I don't like to rely on anybody else. And so it's up to me to figure out the correct information. It's up to me to disprove things. It's up to me. And so to even like think about somebody else coming along and having the
Mm-hmm.
power to disprove any of that is
Mm-hmm.
like unfathomable to me because I'm like, there's
Right.
no one can disprove my own brain, nobody, but it's that
Yeah.
fear where it's like
That feels like a
somebody
real
could,
thing that could happen.
somebody could have
Yeah.
that.
And to me that feels like
Yeah.
it feels a little science fiction-y. Like, yeah, maybe in like some world that could happen, but like
Yeah.
it's I like you'd have to like get dementia or something ahead of, Speaking of, my father
Yeah.
has always said that's like one of his worst fears. Do you relate to that? Yeah.
So it's interesting. So I have worked with the elderly in assisted livings and hospice home care for years now. And I do watch that, and dementia is so scary because all they have is their
And then you
brain, and
don't.
then you're watching, and we train people how to
Mm-hmm.
like talk to their loved ones once they have dementia, and it's so hard because they
Right.
infantilize. It's kind of what you have to do where it's like, all right, grandma, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think dementia to me, logically, I can be like, okay, it would come at a stage of life. As long as it
Right.
didn't come, if it came so early, if it came like in my 50s, I
Yeah.
think it would be detrimental. I think I can accept it
Mm-hmm.
because it's a part of aging. And it's like, okay, by that point, maybe it'd be okay to just sit. What I feel like some people have like the secret fear of like,
Right.
I'm accidentally doing my
Yeah. Right.
taxes all wrong, they're going to come get me. I have the fear of, like, somehow I'm going to be declared mentally incompetent, insane, and they're going to lock me away. And, like, if I was ever on trial and they were like,
You'd
"We're
be like, I
pleading
did it. Please
insanity,"
don't
it
do that. Yeah.
worst fear.
I'll go to jail.
I'd be like, "No, here's how yeah, like, no, here's how I did it. I'll tell
Do
you my
not
whole plan.
declare me
Do
insane.
not
That's
do
so
not
I've
declare me
I've
incompetent."
never
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
this is why I think I value female fives so much because I think you talk about fiveness in a way
Mm.
that I've never heard this level of introspection from a five. Which, here's my next
There you
question,
go.
is not because I don't think fives do introspection, right? Like that's the whole thing about fives. It's that it doesn't,
Yeah.
that's that we don't get to see
Little
it.
bit,
The
yeah.
other people around don't get to see it, right?
Yeah.
And on that note, I want to talk about avarice. I think this is a good segue into avarice. Okay. So, for
Mhm.
anyone who does not know, every Enneagram number has, it's called a bunch of different things. It's called either your sin, which obviously has a lot of connotations, it's your vice. Anyway,
Yeah, I
but each
always
number
say
has something that kind of trips you
yeah.
up over and over and over again. And it's like it affects your number in a way that
Mhm.
that other numbers do not feel affected by, right? So for fives, it's avarice. Actually, can you tell
Yeah.
us what your understanding of avarice is for fives?
Yeah. So I like avarice is good, like, overarching.
Mm-hmm.
Hoarding, I feel like if you can narrow it down. So the big difference between this and the deadly sin of a 7. So the gluttony is like you think of
Yeah.
Bruce from Matilda, like, eating all the cake, right? So if we put him as a 7 there, which is not his fault, but if we put him as a 7 there,
Yeah.
as a 5, he would
Keep
actually
them.
just
Yep.
collect the cakes just to have them, not go through them. And so the
Mm.
example I always like is Warren Buffett is hugely wealthy, and Jeff and TJ talk about him a lot for fives. Hugely wealthy,
Yeah.
still lives in the same house he bought in the 70s. Very rare, like, still wears the same clothes.
Mm-hmm.
He just has the money to have it. And it's like same with Scrooge McDuck. He's got like
Just to
the
have it.
gold
Yeah.
coin pool just to have it. Yep. And I think it's it makes sense in our
Mm-hmm.
brains. It's like, why not just have this on hand just in case? And I think a lot of it, to me at least, the avarice comes I am so disconnected from the physical world that if I can have these physical things around me, maybe
Mm.
they'll do the job of the
Interesting.
physical world for me. Maybe they will introduce me into the physical world better. I'm trying to think of like what I collect,
Right.
what I hoard.
Right.
Books, for sure. I have so many books,
Mm-hmm.
and like information is always a big thing with fives, like the collection of information of just like I have these
Sure do.
fun facts I can spout at you at any point. It's like if I have yeah, oh yeah, if I have enough of these facts, like you pack the bags to go through the apocalypse and I'll tell you which berries are poisonous.
So
And
avarice
that
and gluttony, like you said, both sound very physical, but these numbers are in the head triad. So we have to remember it's mental, right? So sevens, it's a mental gluttony. So it
mhm,
is their minds need to be filled all the time. They hate not having their mind filled with something. As soon as they
mhm,
consume one thought, they need another one, right? They want to be thinking about things all the time. They want to be planning for things, all this stuff. So fives, it's a mental avarice. And
mhm,
I think the big like core thing of how fives see the world that other people do not, it's not that cuz like when you said, well, why not have this knowledge just cuz you might need it? Like I actually agree with that part. Like why not? I think the thing that
mhm.
fives don't
Yeah.
know until they know, is that you are viewing things as something you're not going to be able to get back. So fives also hoard time, they hoard
Yeah.
privacy, which are like these ambiguous
Yeah.
things that are not really collectible. Like they're not physical things that are collectible, but I imagine to a five, it feels collectible. Would you say?
No, it definitely oh, yeah, especially, like, time and privacy for sure. I've talked with my roommates as we've talked about the Enneagram, as I've introduced them a little bit more to it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like,
Mm-hmm.
"You tell us plenty about your life. Like, what do you like, I don't feel like you're
Yeah.
that withholding." I'm like,
Yeah.
"I tell you what I want you to know. Like, you're never
Mm-hmm.
going to find something out about me on
Mm-hmm.
accident. You're never going to stumble across something about me." And, like, same with people have said, like, "You have a terrible poker face." I'm like, I actually don't. If you can
Yeah.
tell that
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
lying,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
giving
funny.
that to you.
Right.
This is not on accident. And same with time. I think a big thing with
Mm-hmm.
fives is you have the set energy level of, like, when it's gone, it's gone. And so I know my time is valuable, and I know um
Mm-hmm.
my time will take energy. And so I have to protect that at almost all costs. That becomes an overarching theme for me. I think with fives, every interaction drains energy. It's just that some
Mm-hmm.
people drain energy faster
Right.
or they don't give it back. So it's like I was planning out my day today and I was like, okay, I have this interview at 11. And so I know that I won't
Mm-hmm.
have the energy for
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
else. And it's worth it
It's
to me. This
measured.
is something I still want to do, but it almost becomes like it's measured. It almost becomes like the spoon
Yeah.
theory
Yeah.
for chronic illnesses, if you've heard of that. Every day you have a set number of spoons, and everything you need to do takes one spoon, and you have a finite amount of spoons. And so it's like taking a shower, eating breakfast, commuting to work, all those things. And so
People.
you have
Yeah.
to use your spoons wisely. So it's like you can take a shower, but you won't have energy to brush your teeth. Or it's like you can get on a phone
Mm-hmm.
call with your mom, but you might not be able to leave your bed for a few hours.
I want to hear the difference between physically shutting down. I also want to hear what it looks like for you to emotionally shut down, especially maybe you don't feel like there's a difference, and I keep bringing up like male versus
Yeah,
female,
no, you're
but
good. Which
I do think males get a little more, they're like allowed to emotionally shut down a little more.
yeah,
So I'm not saying you don't, but like how do people react to that when you emotionally shut off too, right?
yeah, it's an interesting thing because I'll do this shutdown of so physically it's like, okay, I need to retreat. I'm gonna go, we're at a party where we're with people or whatever. I need to go sit in my car or I need to go sit in the corner. I need to basically put myself in timeout.
Right.
And that's fine. Like people understand that from like an introvert perspective where they're like, you're just overstimulated, you're overwhelmed. To then mentally shut down, it feels like a cloud almost goes over my brain and my vision. And I could see my best friend in the world that I haven't seen in months. And if she came up to me, I'd be like, hi.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I cannot summon the emotional bandwidth for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard because then that's when you see fives as cold. That's when you see fives as uncaring, or that's when you get like, she's a bitch. Like
Yeah.
in
No,
those
literally.
moments. Yeah.
Do you feel cold and uncaring?
In
Because
those
I think there's two,
moments.
like, people read you as cold and uncaring, but you're not. Or, yeah, I am. I just don't think it should be as big of a deal as you think it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like, which one of those is it?
I am definitely not cold and uncaring. Especially like I said earlier, like oldest of five, I have like my core group of people that I would do anything for, which is huge to say as a five. Like I would physically do things for them.
Do things, yeah.
And so it's like I don't feel cold and unfeeling at any given point. If I am losing that, if I am draining, I'm very, very sorry that I cannot emote for your coworker's baby right now. Like,
yeah, no, literally, yeah,
like,
yeah.
They're not one of my people, and even then, like even if you are one of my people, I don't know. Like, I have to make sure that people know that my best friend, she's a 9, and she lives across the country, and so sometimes I will just say, I'm depleted. Like, I love you, and she had a baby last year. I went out there and I was there for 2 weeks, put everything into like, I was like, we're going to get this baby here and it's going to be great. And luckily I had like an Airbnb. So I didn't stay with them.
That's nice.
So I like had time at night, but I was like, we're going to do this and we're going to get this baby here. And like, I'm here to protect your peace. And like, her husband's a 4 and then she's a 9 and I'm a 5. So like none of us want to do anything or go anywhere.
Everyone was like, nobody come in this house right now.
Everyone was like, stay away. Like even going to the hospital.
All the bases covered in doing repression.
No, everything. Everybody was like, we're not going. And even going to the hospital, I was like, we should probably leave. And they're like, we have time.
Yeah.
Let's stay on the couch. We should go.
We should go. That's funny.
Those 2 weeks, I was like, I am here. I am doing it. I care so much that I am here. I am doing this. And I came home and I think I slept for like 18 hours because
that's crazy.
I had borrowed sense. I was in an energy deficit. I had borrowed from future energy which is so rare to even be able to do. Like,
Yeah, I was like, I've never heard a five talk about that before.
But
you had to. It's
I
not
had
like you were
to.
right. You had
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
And it was this fully like necessity thing. And it very much was like just like debt with money, where I was like in overdraft for sure.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
paid the overdraft fees for sure
So
when
were
I
you
got
just
home.
in that level of like, I cannot summon emotion for you right now? Was that just like several days?
Yeah, when I,
Yeah.
especially because I was there, and like even by the time I was leaving, I was like so emotional then about leaving, and it was all the emotions. I think I got to the airport and I did not look a person in the eye. I did not say a word. I did
Yeah.
not like, there was a chatty lady next to me on the flight, and usually I'm very like, I can be very like people pleasy, like, yeah,
Right.
let
Right.
me look
Right.
at pictures of your grandkids. No,
Yeah.
nothing.
No.
I had
Don't talk to me.
nothing. My mom picked me up from the airport, and I was just like, Mom, I texted her. I couldn't even talk when I got in the car. I texted her and I was like, I am burnt out. I will tell you all about the baby in 3 to 5 business days.
But I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just put
Was
my
that hard
headphones
for her
in.
as a two?
It
Like, I
was
know my
so
mom would,
hard.
she'd want to know. Like, twos
Yeah.
they want to know all the
Yeah.
things, right? And
Yeah.
so
And I just
I'm sure
like,
that was hard for her.
I just like put in my AirPods, and I think I handed her my phone, and I was like, look at all the pictures you want. Don't ask me a thing.
Don't ask me about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can't. And so it's very extreme circumstances where you can go into that energy deficit and like you can borrow, but it takes so much out of you.
Right. So we've been talking a lot about fives being doing repressed. But fours and fives are interesting because they have a repressed center, and then they also have a whole other center that it's debated, but like you have no line to, at least, right? So you also have no line to feeling. Depending on which Enneagram teacher you talk to, they will debate whether or not fives use feeling or not. But do you have any opinion on that, where you think fives land on like accessing the feeling center? And like when you look at the people in your life who you know are like twos, fours, sixes are a lot in the feeling center, that kind of thing. Do you feel like you're accessing feeling? Maybe you're just not telling people about it or whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this actually. So one of the biggest things I heard years ago was that fives think their feelings, and then fours feel their thoughts. Right. And thinking my feelings, being able to put words to that has been really helpful, because that same best friend, when she asked me how I am, I tell her facts that are going on that would contribute to how I'm feeling. And she's like, so you still haven't answered the question. I'm like, yes, I just did. I told you. I told you that I slept 8 hours last night, but I haven't eaten breakfast, but I'm stressed, or I like have this going on today or whatever. And she's like, so what does that equate? And I'm like, I guess I'm stressed, I guess. And I can't name emotions. It's been something in therapy for the last couple of years where, especially my therapist will ask me like, where do you feel that emotion in your body? And I'm like, that's a crazy thing to ask, because
I relate that too. I have no idea. What are you talking about?
I'm like, my body, this vessel for my brain. Are you kidding? No. And I was like, no.
This thing that holds the actual important stuff? I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm like, feeling in my body? What are you talking about? So I think it took me a while to figure out I've debated being a five, because I was like, I do feel like I'm feeling repressed. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I think it really is just this. I have no connection. I have no arrows there. One thing, I don't know if this is like a universal five experience, but I feel a lot of embarrassment for outwardly showing emotions.
I would say that is probably at least nearly a universal. I'm thinking of the fives I know, and I think they would agree with you.
Yeah. So like,
talk more about that.
I went to Disneyland last year, and beforehand my mom's like, are you so excited? And I was like, yeah, it'll be good. We're going to do this. And I've researched this. And she was like, but are you so excited? And I was like, It looks like it'll
All
be
the
a good
facts
time.
say it's
Yeah.
going to be a good
Yeah.
time.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm like, according to my weather app, it won't rain on us. So
Right.
probably.
So yay.
I'm like, I don't. And like, I feel this deep embarrassment. And then there
So
were a couple.
were you excited? You just were embarrassed to show it? Or like you're so embarrassed, like you don't even get to the feeling part of it?
I even saying like to myself, like admitting that I'm excited for something is like I'll probably be on my wedding day and they'll be like, "Are you excited?" And I'll be like, "This seems like a good decision." And they'll be like, "What?"
This feels like the most logical thing to do right
Yeah.
now.
And it's like, okay. So I think
That's funny.
I was as much as I could be. I knew that the experience would be good. I was going with a really good friend and we had planned it out. And I knew that I should be excited.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, yes, this is a good, fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is something, if I felt like I could experience excitement, this would be the thing. This would be the thing that would make that for sure.
Calling excitement.
Yeah. If this is what they call excitement, then yes.
Then yes, I am.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I don't know. There were a couple times when I was a teenager. I have a brother who's 4 years younger than me. And there would come a point where I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I was overwhelmed or I was just overly stimulated, overly stressed. My energy had been taken and I would start to cry. And it was very foreign to me. And then he'd be like, "Oh, you're always so emotional." And I were like, that's still, it's 15 years later. And that cut me to my core where he was just you're being emotional. Right. Or people will say yeah. I was like, yeah. Oh, okay, no. Like, and people will say, especially like women being on their periods or anything like hormonal, they'll be like, women are always just so emotional. And I come out with my research. I'm like, actually, like, if you look at men and if you count anger as an emotion, men are actually the emotional ones. And I'm like, like, here's my research on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's embarrassing about it?
There's no logical reasoning behind being excited or emotional.
And what's embarrassing about that?
Why would I do something that doesn't have a concrete reason behind it? Why would I do something so like grief, crying during grief, it makes so much sense. Being like emotional to seeing my friend's newborn baby makes so much sense. To go to this amusement park as an adult and be so excited, jumping for joy, I don't want to be perceived as excitement feels, what's the right word for it? Like almost vapid. And I think especially as a woman vibe, like a female vibe, I don't want any excuse out there to ever be seen as less than or less intelligent or anything like that. And so it feels shallow to be excited. And I don't want that.
Do you feel like you are missing out on anything by not being able to be excited?
Sometimes. It's not like this like FOMO of like fear of missing out for sure. Yeah. But I do sometimes wonder like what is wrong with my brain that I can't get that level of excited. Why you have the girls who are just like, woo, girls, and I have never been able to do that. I would fail terribly at a sorority. I couldn't woo for anything.
Honestly, I understand.
Yeah. I think another aspect to it, even with just like not the embarrassment of excitement, another thing is that by the time I get done thinking through what are we excited about? Why is this exciting? What is this? The moment has passed to be excited. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I missed out on
I would have been, but I had to think about it first. Yeah.
I can't live in the moment of like jumping on board, we're excited, that sort of thing. Like I have to think it through. And so
it is fleeting.
Yeah, it's fleeting.
That's interesting too. I've never made that connection.
Yeah.
Any fleeting emotion I'm sure would be hard to feel as a 5.
Yeah, because it's like it's this like wave of like, oh, it's moving, but I haven't had time to think through, and it's thinking, feeling, and then doing if we can possibly get to that. And so especially I feel like the body types are good at like going with the flow of like,
Right.
and now we're cheering and now we're crying. And like
Yeah. Right.
people say this like roller coaster of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I don't experience a roller coaster of emotions because they don't move fast, and my brain has to move through them first in order to get there.
Interesting. I think that's so cool. I feel like you have opened up fives for me in a way that no one else ever has.
I'm so
thank
glad.
you. Because I think every number is equally interesting and complex, but some numbers, I think it's easier to illustrate how complex they are. And some because you have to rely on people talking about their own number, right?
Yeah.
And like, especially I think 2, 5s, and 8s, they don't like to talk about themselves like that a lot. So it's harder to like draw things out.
They're expecting the rejection. Yeah,
they're expecting the rejection. Exactly. Okay, here's my last question for you. I'm trying to end most of these on. If you could tell, how old are you?
30.
Did you say? 30. Mm-hmm. If you could go back 10 years to your 20-year-old self and give them one piece of advice, specifically maybe about being a 5, what would you say?
It's okay to not react the same way to things as people around you do. And it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that you're more in your head.
Yeah. This is just who you are.
Yeah. And I like there's value in stopping and thinking about things before feeling or doing. I have a friend who describes what I do. So there's like this group of 3 of us, and the 2 of them will talk things out, and they're talking back and forth. And what do you do? How do you feel about this? And they will go for an hour and a half, and I won't say a word.
Yeah.
And then she'll say, okay, and now it's time for Sarah to tie it up in a bow for us. Like summarize what we're doing and like make it all make sense. And I think I would tell myself, like, there's value in that.
That's a superpower. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to be the one you don't have to just be there for a good time. Like, you will find people who will value the slowness and the more intentional things that you have to offer.
As you're talking, I just think 3s and 5s are so similar in a lot of ways.
Which is interesting because it's not a connection you usually see.
I agree, because I think the stereotypes of 3s and 5s are so different.
Yeah.
But I really think how we really function and how we really feel is very similar.
Yeah.
I always when I talk to my dad, we have a scenario that we like run by each other.
Oh, okay.
And it's if you were running a presentation and it's in front of a bunch of people, in front of a bunch of important people, like at your job or whatever, right? And somebody points out, hey, something is wrong, like fundamentally wrong with what you're saying. Which part is hard? Is it that you were wrong, or is it that you were wrong in front of people? And mine is the in front of people.
Yeah.
And my dad is that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's in the room. It doesn't matter how important they are. Or maybe it matters on some like 1% level, you know what I mean? But
like
it's
social
really
construct sort
wrong,
of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of similarities in between 3s and 5s that I have not really noticed before. But thank you for being here. Thank you for helping to illustrate, to open up 5s for the rest of us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
Of course. It was lovely. I'll see you next time.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hey friends, it's Jeff. We're entering a new season. We have started 4 new podcasts on this channel and are working on our second book and hoping to elevate more voices in the Enneagram world over the coming year. If these episodes are important to you, there's 3 things you can do for us. First, you can buy a copy of our first book, Around the Circle, on Amazon for yourself and your 10 closest friends for Christmas. Second, you can review that book or our podcast with a note, 5 stars. This really helps people find our feed. And best of all, you can go sign up as a member at aroundthecircle.org. Even free members get half of the stuff that we post there. So go. Books, stars, memberships. This will allow us to create great content for years to come. Appreciate all you all. Appreciate your notes of encouragement, and may all good things be yours.